This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. The coronavirus is emerging this week, not just as a growing public health threat, but as a very real financial concern for many. U.S. markets fell again today as the virus continues to spread. It has now infected people in at least 47 countries and on every continent except Antarctica. Here in the U.S., stocks have fallen for 3 straight days this week amid worries about an economic fallout erasing all of this year's market gains. President Trump addressed the country on Wednesday, saying the virus is not the only factor causing the stock market to tumble, but he said either way, he remains confident in the economy.
And it certainly took a hit because of this, and I understand that also because of supply chains and various other things and people coming in. But I think the stock market will recover. The economy is very strong. The consumer is the strongest it's ever been. Our consumers are incredible. They're incredible. That's why we're doing well and other countries have not, even before the virus.
The president also said he is asking Congress to give more than $2.5 billion for preparations. And with us now for more on the economic concerns is Dan Celia, the president and CEO of Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries. Dan, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Heather. It's great to be here.
So, Dan, the big Wall Street firm of Goldman Sachs is warning that the coronavirus could wipe out corporate profits and possibly trigger a recession. What is your take on that kind of thinking?
Well, I think, Heather, everything the president said was correct in that clip you played. But could it wipe out corporate profits and push us into recession? It certainly could, but it's hard to make a call like that Goldman made because we don't know the extent of this yet. And if it looks as though there is not going to be a containment of the spread a whole lot further, if we have here in the United States what they have in China, if they have in Switzerland or other places like they have in China, then yes, it is going to hurt corporate profits for the rest of the year, primarily due to the supply chain and the lack of demand for whatever it is they do over the next year.
Yeah, expand a little bit. What are some of the scenarios, ways that this virus could impact the economy?
So I'll give you a great example. One is the auto industry. So right now, most of the auto parts companies in Japan and China are shut down. And people have said to me, well, you know what? We have Toyota manufacturing here in America. They can ramp up. They can't do it without the parts. The parts are coming from other places. So the supply chain being shut down is going to shut down some of the plants here. And we will begin at some point in time to see layoffs. And this is going to be obviously a problem for our GDP. Larry Kudlow, one of the president's financial advisors, someone I know, indicated on Wednesday that we were still going to see 2.1 or 2.2% GDP growth in the first quarter. Not going to happen right now. If nothing else gets worse, we are not going to see more than 1% GDP growth. So we're already seeing the impact. So the question is, Heather, if we can begin to contain this, if it's going to act like a virus that starts to dissipate in the summertime and we start to contain it. If not, we are going to have some economic problems.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because I know a lot of people are just watching their own financial interests in all of this with the stock market. Do you see the market stabilizing anytime soon? And what is your advice for the many people out there who are personally concerned about their savings?
My advice is don't change anything. Please, please do not get caught up in the fear of what might happen, or for that matter, the fear of what is happening to your portfolios, your investments, your 401ks, your IRAs. Please don't get caught up in that because you're going to be selling if you do. And every crisis similar to this, in 3 to 4 years, we were back and then some, on average, up 40% from these highs. I think it's going to be the same scenario. So if you're an investor and you're in it for a long term, this is not a time to be fearful. If you are a young person and you are contributing to your 401k, do not allow this fear to stop your contributions, because this downturn is good for you. You're buying shares on sale. You have a very long-term time horizon. So in the short term, this market is going to continue to be bad. Make no mistake about it. It is going to continue to go down. It is not going to be a V-shaped recovery. It's going to be a U-shaped recovery. It's going to be down for a while, but it will start recovering. And the key is to stay in and not to panic.
Well, I know that a lot of people don't want to panic, but are definitely watching this. Dan Celia, thank you for your time.
All right, Heather. Thank you.
And our health reporter, Lori Johnson, has been closely following the coronavirus for weeks. She is here with us now for more. So, Lori, there is a new case out of California, and a lot of people are talking about that right now. What's different about that case?
This is a patient with confirmed coronavirus in the Sacramento area, and the CDC believes that this is the first case in the United States of what they're calling community transmission. So this is a person who had not been to China and had not been in contact with anyone who was in China, and apparently hadn't been in contact with anyone who had the virus. Of course, officials are doing what they call contact tracing for all coronavirus patients, where they go back and kind of interview people that this patient has come in contact with, and they may find the source, but at this point, it's an unknown source. This patient is in hospital right now at University of California, Davis in Sacramento, and all the healthcare workers are also being tested for the coronavirus at this point.
Okay. And overall, scope-wise, what have we seen happen with the coronavirus this week? How quickly is it spreading?
Well, it's very interesting. The number of cases in China is really dropping off. We have seen a steady decline in new cases. The new low now, according to Chinese officials, is about 400 new cases. That compares to 2,000 new cases about this time last month. They say that it peaked about this time last month. Starbucks is now opening its coffee shops that it closed. 85% of the ones that it closed are now opening again, because this appears to be dissipating in China. Meanwhile, more new cases outside of China. For example, in South Korea alone, more than 500 new cases. Right now, we're looking at 4,000 new cases outside of China and 61 deaths. That's a death rate of about 1.5 to 1.6%, which is lower than the death rate in China that we saw of 2%.
Now, who in the U.S. needs to be thinking about preparing just on an individual family basis for this potentially spreading at a greater rate in the U.S.?
Well, the good news about this, if you can find it, is that this does not seem to be attacking children. That we have looked at, the health officials have looked at reports from the first 72,000 coronavirus patients, and 0 children under the age of 9 died from it. Very few children under the age of 20 even contracted it. Most of the people who get it are over 50. Most of the people who die from it are over 70. About 80% of the people who contract this virus do not have very aggressive symptoms, mild symptoms, so mild that they don't need to be hospitalized. So we're really looking at older folks with pre-existing conditions, comorbidities, if you will, people who already have heart issues or lung issues. This is a respiratory situation. So symptoms include difficulty breathing and coughing and fever.
Okay, so that is very helpful information for everyone as we plan and think about this. Lori Johnson, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Well, do stay with us for the latest on the coronavirus as we continue to provide updates right here on the CBN News Channel and on CBNNews.com. The rise of Bernie Sanders in the Democratic presidential field is fueling open unease among some Democratic lawmakers who fear losing control of the House if the Vermont senator is on the ballot. And those Democrats who are worried about Sanders are running out of time to stop his advance. The South Carolina primary is this Saturday, and Super Tuesday follows right after in 14 states next week. Our Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson heads to South Carolina tomorrow and joins us now from Capitol Hill with more. Abby, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has responded to these concerns about a possible threat from Sanders to her House majority. What is she saying?
Well, this week, Speaker Pelosi's message has been unity. She says that she is comfortable with Senator Sanders leading the ticket, and she also adds that she will enthusiastically embrace whoever the nominee is, even if that's Sanders. And she's been telling her Democratic caucus to be prepared, to be unified around whoever this nominee is. She says that is the Democrats' strategy in 2020. But besides Pelosi, there have been other House Democrats, particularly those that are seen as vulnerable in 2020, those who President Trump won their districts in 2016, and they are not shying away from expressing their concerns that a Senator Sanders nomination could possibly cost them their jobs. But as far as Speaker Pelosi goes, as of now, she is refraining from officially endorsing anyone in the Democrat primary right now and just trying to keep her caucus unified.
Really fascinating to see that playing out. You, of course, are headed to South Carolina tomorrow, where Bernie Sanders, as we've been saying, has a lot of momentum, but Joe Biden just earned a key endorsement. And then there's outlier Tom Steyer, who's spent more on ads than any other candidate. What are the expectations at this point? Is there any clear frontrunner in South Carolina?
Yeah, well, the latest poll we've seen from South Carolina, Clemson University did the Palmetto survey where Joe Biden has a huge lead of 18%. And second, as is Tom Steyer, and then in third place is Senator Sanders. But that is what Biden needs to stay in this race. He can't just win South Carolina. He has to win big. He needs an 18% win in there. This state has been his firewall. And if he does not have a huge turnout, a huge performance in South Carolina, it's going to be very hard for him to stay in this race much longer.
Okay, and I want to ask you about Super Tuesday because, of course, many consider that to be the real prize. Do you think the contest in 14 states could nail the nomination for one of these candidates?
Oh, yes. If Senator Sanders does overwhelmingly well on Super Tuesday, it's going to be incredibly challenging for some of those moderate candidates that haven't been placing consistently in the top three to stay in this race. Financially, a lot of them will not be able to afford to stay in. And on Super Tuesday, you have states like California, where 494 delegates are up for grabs. And Senator Sanders is polling incredibly well in California. Second, you have Texas, where there's 261 delegates, another state where Sanders is doing really well. So he really could, if he just sweeps Super Tuesday, we're going to see a lot of people, I think, dropping out. And right now, many analysts I've spoken with have said for the past couple of weeks that they believe that eventually with these moderate candidates, as they drop out, their supporters will coalesce around one moderate candidate who might be able to eclipse Senator Sanders. But the thing is, there's still a lot of them in this race, and it doesn't look like any of them are dropping out before Tuesday. So it's going to be really hard for some of these other candidates who've been coming in second and third place in the races we've seen so far to eventually be able to overtake Sanders if he just dominates on Tuesday.
All right. Well, it's really fascinating to watch. A lot going on in the next week. Abigail Robertson, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And for more political analysis and news, be sure to catch Faith Nation this evening. You can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, is polyamory a growing trend in today's society? We'll tackle that topic when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today.
Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Our culture and even some of our churches appear to be opening the door for group sexual relationships that are known as polyamory. It is the practice of having more than one sexual partner with the consent of all the partners involved. A recent Christianity Today piece cited research by sociologist Mark Regeneris that shows almost a quarter of church-going people believe that polyamorous relationships are morally permissible. Also, earlier this month, HGTV featured 3 people in polyamorous relationships in an episode of its House Hunters show. The American Family Association has organized a petition in protest. And joining us now with more is Abraham Hamilton, General Counsel and Public Policy Analyst for the American Family Association. Abraham, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
You have organized this petition to protest the HGTV show. What was your concern with the show?
Well, our concern primarily is that this show leads our nation further down the trajectory of really decimating the American family. My organization was among many others who argued that once our nation went down the road it went with the Obergefell decision, should we have chose to go down that road, then you would open the door to all manner of various adult relationships. And people that are advocating for polyamorous relationships and polygamous relationships, they're using the exact same arguments that were used in the lead up to the Obergefell decision. Just in recent weeks, a Senate committee in Utah moved to basically...
Excuse me, can you tell me a little bit about this particular TV show and what it was that was your concern?
Yes, my concern is that HGTV is an influential program. Our concern is that it's an influential program and that it is furthering the decimation of the family here in the United States of America. We all know, we should know, I think, marriage is the fundamental building block for any civilized society. The family is the fundamental unit of a civilized society. And once you open the door beyond what I would argue is God's definition for marriage, you set our nation and our culture on the course to decimate that fundamental building block of society.
Okay. And how many people have responded to your petition, and any response from HGTV?
Well, to HGTV, they have not responded directly to us yet. And the last time I checked, we've eclipsed 42,000 people who have signed. That number goes up every time I check it again. And that just shows that there are a number of people in our country who recognize what's happening to the family, and they want to see it stopped and reversed.
Okay, and I want to ask you, in the past, Christians, of course, have protested gay characters on television, transgender characters, yet Hollywood and the media continue to feature them. Is it productive to protest? Do you see it as what is your motive in doing these protests?
Well, the motivation is to try to persuade the hearts and minds of the people in our nation. And it is a productive mechanism because just as HGTV, Disney, and other entities are attempting to convey their messages, they're trying to do the exact same thing. And so we find it important at the American Family Association not to allow their messages to be propounded unchallenged, but that we provide a robust counter-narrative, really, that moves us closer to what God designed the family to be. And we see that as the best fit for our country.
All right, Abraham Hamilton, a lot to talk about. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And still ahead, what a new Trump immigration ban by the administration means for people trying to come to America legally.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
The Trump administration has just imposed new immigration restrictions on 6 additional countries. CBN's Gary Lane talked with Dr. George Farokh, a diplomat with experience in embassies in these challenging regions, about the decision.
Dr. Farokh served as a consular officer at several high-risk U.S. embassies. He's author of the new book, Pro-American Immigration, Common Ground in Our Immigration Strategy. Dr. Farokh, good to have you with us all the way from Beirut. So why did the president add more countries to the so-called travel ban list?
Well, Gary, it depends on who you talk to. When you listen to the mainstream media, it's simply a matter of racism, bigotry, and separating families. But I don't believe that. In my mind, the travel ban is a tool used by the United States government and other governments for diplomatic purposes in order to push political objectives. Let's look at Syria, for example. Syria has been ravaged by years of civil war and different terrorist groups. We find that the security posture in Syria does not allow for the Syrians and the Americans to have an exchange for security or information purposes. So it makes sense that there would be a full travel ban in Syria. If we look at Iran, the situation is a little bit different. The relationship has also been quite shaky for the past 40 years. We've used different diplomatic tools such as sanctions, military strikes, but at the same time, the president has constantly left the door open for a new Iran deal. And I think it's not a coincidence that the door is open for students to get visas to come to the U.S. The last example is in Nigeria. Nigeria is an ally of the United States. It's one of our major trading partners. But we also have an issue in Nigeria, which is Boko Haram, another terrorist group. There is a travel ban in Nigeria, but it's only for immigrant visas.
George, I've done a lot of international traveling over the past 25 years. I've often heard from Christians in places like Egypt, Pakistan, Syria, Iraq, that they have faced discrimination in the visa application process, that Muslims in those countries have been treated much more favorably over the years in gaining approval to enter the U.S. So is that policy changing?
Gary, I cannot say it's a policy. As a former consular officer, I can tell you that the American consular officer does not discriminate based on religion. So while folks may feel that way, the reality in terms of the actual decision-making process by consular officers at embassies is we make decisions on cases based on the merit of the case, not based on the religion of the applicant.
And you can catch the full interview and much more on tonight's Global Lane at 9:30 Eastern here on the CBN News Channel. After the break, why a small-town Mississippi pastor is now catching attention. We'll bring you that story next.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
A Mississippi pastor is making headlines after he stunned the judges on NBC's The Voice. Take a look.
I know it's late. I know you're weary. I know your plans don't include me.
A lot of fun right there. 41-year-old Todd Tillman is the lead pastor of Cornerstone Church in Meridian, Mississippi. He told local news outlets that other than singing at his church, he wasn't much of a performer. He said his wife convinced him to audition, saying thank God for her. Tillman got a chair turn from all 4 judges, but ultimately chose country star and Judge Blake Shelton as his coach. He will be on Team Blake as the season continues. And that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember that you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, please do tell us what you think about the stories that you have seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on social media. We hope that you will join us next time. Have a great day.